everybody, what's going on? This is your broadcaster, Master Cloud, and I am back for another cast of The Lord of the Rings, The Battle for Middle-earth 2, The Rise of the Witch King. I am really excited to be able to bring you guys this match today. Before we jump into it, I wanted to show you guys a quick overview of the bracket. What I'm going to be doing is casting a couple of games from a very recent tournament. Took place on the 22nd of February 2015. So these are very recent games with the most up-to-date strategy. Now this was a tournament hosted by, of course, GameReplays.org. If you are interested in either joining tournaments or learning about them, that is definitely the place to go to do so. Today's matchup is going to be letter C here, Megrim versus Ice. Now, as part of this tournament, it was this is round one. You have to win 2 games against your opponent to proceed to the next round. As you can see, I've made a couple of corrections here to the tournament bracket. A couple of players did end up backing out. A couple of changes to the bracket last minute. As you can see, Archangel replacing Lazarus here, a couple of no-shows at this point, and then this guy, I don't even want to try and pronounce that name, decided to go against Larry Croft instead, as these 2 players did not end up playing either. But here's the bracket, and I guess without any further ado, guys, let's jump into the game and definitely check out the beginnings of a very recent tournament. So, guys, spawning in the lower right-hand side of the map as Men or Gondor, we are going to have the player Bushit. Now, Bushit is, of course, the same as Ice, just so you guys are aware. So this definitely is still the same game, still that same bracket game. And spawning to the upper left-hand side of the map, his opponent as Goblins is going to be Megrim. Now, both players, it looks like, going for that double farm right off the start. Of course, the Goblins have caves, not farms, but nevertheless, farms, of course, a general term for that resource structure. Now, I should make a note, everybody, of the fact that players were allowed to choose their starting race for this tournament. They could choose any race that they liked, or they were allowed to choose random as the race as well, which I, of course, am very much in favor of. Of course, picking random, while you might not be able to pick you might not get your strongest race, it does add that surprise factor to the beginning of the game, allowing your opponent, or not allowing your opponent, to be able to sort of pick his strategy in advance in terms of what he wants to go against you. Now, Bushit actually going for an additional farm already. Where did he send his additional builder? I'm actually not sure here. A couple of Goblin Caves going up here for Megrim. Now, I should make note that the map is Fords of Isen 2, a very standard map for tournament games, loved by pretty much all players, as it is a very balanced and fair-based map. There's a couple of unique items on the map. The cave trolls to the north, if you watched a recent game on my channel, those definitely came into play, as well as the inns here, which do allow you to build some units, specialized units for a much more discounted price than, of course, you would at a barracks that you yourself had built. Now, a couple of goblins running around here going to be causing some damage to some of the mines, and here's where that builder went. Finally, I've been able to find it. Bushit has gone for a very early Gondor Knights, and he's not only that, but he's proxied the stables in the enemy territories. He is going to be managed just barely to take down one of the Goblin Caves. A second one is being immediately thrown up here, and I'm not sure if this is a very, very unique start here, as these horsemen are actually going to be quite effective against the Goblins. However, meanwhile, the Goblins are still running around in the back of Bushit's base here, and he is going to be losing a couple of mines. Does have archers out at this point, a second group of cavalry out as well, and these cavalry are going to do quite a large amount of damage to the Goblins, as there's just no way that they can deal with with the trample ability of the Gondor Knights at this point. And an additional mine is going to go down here. Does get the cancel off. Does recoup about 100 of those minerals, or not of the minerals, of the resources. Sorry, guys, so used to StarCraft. But these Gondor Knights still running around, causing a lot of trouble. Megrim being very cautious here, building all of his buildings very, very close to his fortress, within that arrow range, which of course does not allow this cavalry to get close without taking significant damage. Meanwhile, the Goblins pushing farther forward into the territory. A couple of archers now out as well. A wall hub goes up to protect that builder. These Goblins now going to be moving forward to the north. Will not be able to take out that cave troll by themselves. so might just be chilling up there for a little while here. The stables here still in complete health, has not been spotted yet, I don't think, by the Goblin player. He's not quite sure where that stables is, and even if he is, he doesn't really want to send out those Goblins quite yet because of the damage that these cavalry can do to them, although the cavalry are going to grab Megrim's building here, and that is a great pickup by these cavalry units. Looks like a couple of Goblins pouring out here from the mines. The Gondor Knights should be able to get away with minimal losses. Additional unit of cavalry coming in here, hits the Goblins head on, but the Goblin mass is starting to build. Those poison blades being activated, the cavalry are slowed, and without that speed, they are not going to be able to deal the damage they want to these Goblin warriors here. Do get a little bit of a charge in here, but the Gondor Knights so weak at charges, and it looks like most of them are going to fall before they can do the damage that they need to. Gondor Knights not the cheapest unit in the game, at costing a 500, and of course those Goblin warriors, I believe, cost 80 each. Yeah. So basically trading a couple of Goblins here at 80, you know, maybe 160, as there might have been 2 or 3 units of Goblins there, but taking out pretty much a full unit of cavalry. That is not an equal trade, of course. In order to actually get... Oh gosh, don't do math during a cast. Never mind, forget I started to try and add up how many Goblins that Gondor Knights would actually have to kill. It would be something like, I don't know, 5 or 6, right? That you would actually have to kill in order to recoup your costs for just a single unit of Gondor Knights. So definitely not the type of trades that Bushit wants to be taking, at least at this point in the game. Maybe later on when he has more resources to spare, but is going to be losing a farm up here to the top. Wants to let that finish building, so he saves the builder. Builder does pop out there, you can see, and he needs to pull that builder back right away, but he's not paying attention. The Goblin's now dealing a decent amount of damage to that builder. Does get poisoned off, but throws down the wall hub once again to go ahead and defend that builder, and those archers will go ahead and clean up the remainder of those Goblins. A couple of archers moving forward to try and assist with the cavalry, but the cavalry are not heavy damage receivers, and therefore these archers are going to get easily overrun by the Goblins. The archers, of course, need units in front to go ahead and take the damage for them, as they do take significant amount of damage, especially from these Goblins at close range. The cavalry do provide enough assistance here, though, and it looks like they will actually finish off the remainder of those Goblins. Now, 4 Goblin mines are out. Looks like this cave may go down, 4 Goblin caves rather, and he actually does get this cave as well as the debris there, so that cave is canceled. Lost a couple of Gondor Knights in the process. These are level 2, this group of Gondor Knights is level 2, so they will begin to regen some of their units. An additional unit of Gondor Knights out as well, and these cavalry are doing massive damage here at the early part of this game to these Goblin Knights. However, they're just... they've done some damage, but the Goblin caves continue to pour out several Goblins. Now archers falling as well. Are there some Goblins in the back? Yes, there are. It looks like they've taken out an additional mine here of Bushit's. Does have a farm. Actually, accidentally let his wall hub finish. He would love to have those 200 resources back, but must have forgotten about his builder building that, so that it's just going to stand there for a while. I guess eventually he could use it to build a wall if he has enough resources, but who has the money for that? Only at the very later stages of the game are you really going to be making enough money where you can sort of throw it away on walls around your base. The Goblins here, and actually walls not even effective against Goblins because Goblins will, of course, climb walls, so yeah, definitely not going to be seeing that utilized in this game, at least in my opinion. But we'll have to see how it turns out. Now, Azog is out, a smart... definitely one of the best heroes for the Goblins. A smart choice, I think, here by our Goblin player, getting Azog out early like this, allowing him to start building up those levels, chase down those Gondor Knights, and they will fall almost instantly and deal basically no damage to Azog once he is in range. Cancel there on one of the buildings. The Gondor Knights still trying to do a little bit of damage around the backside here. Hobbit Summit as well. This could be effective. More Goblin's mines going down, as this is not looking good for a Goblin player. He does have a decent amount of troops out on the map, but he needs to get these barracks back up. Looks like one of the debris will fall. The other one manages to survive for now. That should take a little while, of course, before it will start rebuilding. It will eventually. Azog chasing down a couple of the hobbits here as they do fall, and that's going to pretty much clean up the attack for now. The Gondor Knight's still alive, running around the backside. Has he found the stable yet? No, he hasn't. So more Gondor Knights are going to be pumped out. I would love to see him upgrade that stable. The problem is, and I think I know what Bushit is thinking here, is that he's very wary of upgrading this stables, even though he'd love to get the Rohirrim out. so much better than the Gondor Knights, and only for 150 more resources. The fact is, the building is built so far forward, this proxy building, that he's bound to lose it at some point in this game, and probably sooner rather than later. So the question is it worth it to go ahead and upgrade it, or should he just continue to pump out the Gondor Knights and use them against the Goblins? We do have an additional hero out now for the Goblins, Shelob. Not a hero you would see too much in the 2.01 patch, but as this is the 2.02 patch, of course, which is mandatory for all tournaments for game replays, Shelob now is out, and a much stronger hero, I believe, in this new patch. We will have to see just how strong she is, but able to chase down some of these cavalry units already up to level 2. That is going to be a scary thought here for Bushit to be able to deal with her. He doesn't have any heroes out of his own. He doesn't have any pikemen to deal with her either. And all of a sudden, this is looking to be in a little bit of a sticky situation here for Bushit. He's doing his best to save these cavalry as long as possible, but here finally they have found the proxy building, and as soon as they did, you can see that Megrim sending over all of his troops to begin working on that stables immediately, and this is exactly why Bushit did not go ahead and upgrade that stables, because he knew that he was going to lose it. And down it goes. No more Gondor Knights in this game, at least not for now. Now the Gondor Knights charging forward, trying to once again go for that barracks, slow down the production of the Goblins, preventing that critical mass of Goblins from getting out on the field. But the problem is, at this point, almost too little too late. There's a ton of Goblins guarding his territory. He does he have a barracks? Finally, he has a built barracks out on the field, but at this point, it may be too late. He has no way to protect his archers, no units in the front to sort of take the damage from these Goblin warriors and let the archers do the extra damage in the back. And because of that, these archers are falling incredibly quickly to these Goblin warriors. Would love to see some Gondor Knights being pumped out onto the field. Actually going for those the Rohan Spearmen first, though, does make sense considering that Shelob is out on the field. And now up to level 4, this is suddenly a huge danger. And with those Gondor Knights, it looks like the rest of those have been taken out here, as they did die off on the left-hand side here. A couple units still running around the map, only level 1 though, not going to be able to get down the damage that they'd like. Finally, we have a hero out on the field. It is what? Theoden. This is definitely never a hero you would ever see in 2.01, unless you were doing like some crazy strategy with like Knights of Dalamroth, you know, massive attack on the enemy base. Theoden was one of the worst heroes, I think, in 2.01, as he basically had no health. As you can see here, Shelob, actually a couple levels higher than him, has more than like double his health, as Theoden apparently still not granted that much additional health here in this patch. These Goblins continuing to push forward, may be able to get this barracks. Shelob running around as well, doing a lot of damage to the infrastructure. The Gondor Knights returning, throwing up that well, as he is trying to save them for as long as possible. But I think the question is, will they be able to survive until that fountain is built? He wants to save these as long as possible, of course, and get them rebuilt so he can continue to harass with them, as it's his basically only strategy right now to hold off the Goblins. As here comes another massive push. Azog now up to level 3, does have that ability to help steal or loot enemy kills for resources. As you can see there, that is a passive ability. So of course Azog helping to generate additional income here for Megrim, and the Goblins here looking to be in a pretty strong position. An upgrade going down on a Spider Pit, which is now out, and that is of course going to be for those Goblin Spider Riders, incredibly powerful units. There is a couple of Spearmen out for our Gondor player here, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough considering how many heroes and how many Goblin warriors are out for the Goblin player. It looks like Shelob now moving to the top, going for the Warglare to grab a couple of additional resources, maybe some additional experience as well. The Gondor units, there are plenty here, but I'm not sure if there's actually enough to deal the damage to win the overwhelming victory that he needs right now to sort of get back into this game, as more and more Goblin troops are streaming across the map. But at this point, Bushit not giving up. Ice Vice continuing to stick in this game. The Goblin King out as well now. The amount of heroes for the Goblins is something that I love to see when you can pump out all of those additional powerful units and take control of the game with singular powerful units to really destroy your opponent's higher value units here. These Gondor Knights going to survive for now, going to run through a couple more of Goblins, but Azog and the Goblin King actually going to have to retreat here. Did the Goblin King actually fall? I'm not sure. Azog's still alive somewhere in here. Sheila now returning to the battle. She did pick up a little bit of experience from that War Glare, but unsure about whether she wants to actually engage in this battle with these Rowan Spearmen. And that was a bit of a victory here for Bushit. I think he's pushing a little far forward. Azog is still in the midst of this. He's actually still on a defensive stance right now. Doesn't have too much to fear. There is one group of spearmen in here, but I don't think that's really enough to take out or to deal this sufficient amount of damage to Azog, who is a pretty powerful hero, especially when a great battle rage ability is used. Along the south side, a couple of goblins taking out a mine. These inns actually have not been utilized so far for this game. As you can see, neither player deciding to go for them, rather focusing on their own infrastructure and not wanting to rely on sort of the map. We do have a summon going down here for our Gondor player, but there was actually an ability there, I think used by Sheila. Yes, the Instill Terror ability causes fear in nearby enemies, so she does activate that, causing those Gondor, those Rohirrim rather, to go ahead and time out, or at least not time out, but stop for a second. The Hobbits are summoned, actually kill off Shelob almost instantly, and this is a great play by Bus here using a couple of spells here to really take back control of this game, take control of the middle, take control of the ford in the river. And all of a sudden, Bushit regaining his territory here and pushing slightly into the Goblin territory. The Goblins have such a wide array set up around their fortress at this point, though. Our Goblin player, Megrim, making tons of resources. Does have the Goblin King back out. Could evacuate him from the mine if he chose to. Probably waiting for a larger force to combine him with. The Rohirrim now moving forward about halfway through their time limit. Bushit going to sort of throw them away, get their maximum use before they time out. They had enjoyed in the battle as well. Up to level 3, throws down the heal, it looks like, to try and save these units as long as possible. Wants to take out this mine that has leveled up to level 3 and will manage to get it. So that's going to be a great pickup for him as he continues to push forward here. The Hobbits beginning to work on some of these Spider Riders, but they do manage to deal a significant amount of damage there to the archers and escape mostly intact. Looks like they will return for a second pass, grabbing a few more enemy units on that pass through. But in the meantime, Bushit has definitely stabilized and is now dealing a significant amount of damage to some of these mines of the Goblin player. These Rohirrim about to time out. Will he be able to actually get the mine? Does take it down. Will he be able to get the rubble? I don't think so, no. It will survive, albeit temporarily. We do actually have Gollum on the map now for tournament games. The One Ring is allowed in the game. Custom heroes, of course, not, but the One Ring, you are allowed to find that and, of course, bring out the powerful Sauron or the scary Galadriel. Either one are available to, depending on, of course, which race you are. Good races, of course, getting Galadriel, and the evil races gaining access to Sauron. But neither one of those players has spotted that in this game, and we'll have to see if that actually comes into play at some point. This game does continue to press on. Bushit definitely stabilized at this point and actually has Megrim a little bit on the ropes. The Goblin player trying to hold on at this point. Does have sufficient amount of units, I think, to hold this off. Would like to see Bushit maybe back up and try to reorganize a bit of his forces here. I think he's going to lose a majority of these troops with the Goblin, with the bats going down. That is going to throw a lot of weakness down. And now it looks like the Goblin King leveling up as all of these units do grab that leadership bonus. You can see that beautiful yellow color underneath them indicating that they are incredibly powerful. We do have a summon going down as well. The Wildman of Dunlin from Megrim as well to even further strengthen his army, and that is going to be a devastating loss here for all of those archers and the pikemen as well for the army of Bushit. He is going to be retreating back. Now I want to take this moment as sort of this battle is building up, as a huge army is charging across the map here. to deal God knows what sort of damage to this poor Gondor settlement. I do want to take a moment to remind you guys this is on the 2.02 patch, the very newest version of it. And as you can see, there's been some changes to some of the graphics, changes to the replay viewer as well. It is definitely more farther zoomed out. As you guys can see, I can zoom in and out much farther now than I could before, giving you guys access to a bunch more of the screen and a little bit greater focus on sort of what's happening, not just in a very specific area of the screen, but a larger area of the battle. Now, Azog, in the middle of this particular battle, has activated his Great Battle Rage. Of course, that's granting him an additional 100% damage as well as that 40% armor. The Spider Rider's going to be heading towards the north. The Goblins here pushing farther inward, along with the help of the summoned Wildmen of Dunlin here. The builder has decided to retreat, building a farm there a little bit far up into the battle, but I guess he's feeling confident with these archers here in the back. However, the Goblin Spider Riders bypass the pikemen here, are coming around the backside, and do get a very nice charge through there, and we'll take out the majority of them. Finally, it looks like we have Theoden showing up now with a group of Gondor Knights as well as one group of Rohirrim. They will begin to charge through these Goblin Warriors. As the Spider Riders do escape to the north, a couple of those pikemen attempting to chase them down. They're going to run into some heavy resistance there. Azog still doing a significant amount of damage here. The farm will fall. I guess that building that, after all, was a little bit of a mistake there. Azog picking up a couple kills for himself in the middle of all of this as well. You can see him taking out a Rohirrim right there. This wall hub actually proving to be almost a little useful at this point. Blocking out some of these units from those horsemen, at least temporarily. But I think that the Goblins have sustained enough damage here that they are going to have to fall back here. I think this is probably the right decision. Level 5 Goblin King, Azog now up to level 6 as well, which is a great level for both of those heroes at this point in the game. Our Goblin player Megrim here doing a fantastic job of taking over the map. As you can see, he's really polka dotted the map in blue, all up along the left-hand side here as well as along the bottom. Winning that battle and getting actually out a unit of Coda here is our Gondor player Bushit. And that unit of Coda is going to start to come in incredibly handy as he takes down a couple of these units. Sheila here in a lot of trouble, beginning to be focused down. She does just gain a level that does grant her up, or does bring her up to level 7, which means she will be able to use the tunnel ability, which Megrim activates here at the last second, granting him access to tunnel her out of there and protect her life. Megrim taking great pains right now to take care of all of his units, especially those hero units. As you can see him pulling Azog and the Goblin King back, as well as Sheila now when the danger is present. Several more Spider Riders now out as well. They are going to be moving along the top side here, and it looks like this tower here is going to be all that stands in between the Spider Riders and the Goblins, but additional pikemen now showing up, a unit of Gondor Tower Guards showing up as well. The Spider Riders, do they want to engage this? Looks like the Goblins are going to actually pull off to the moment, and the Spider Riders coming in from the side. The Gondor Knights do not see them, or the Gondor Tower Guards do not see them. They get a nice run through on the side there, take out about half of them, sustaining very little damage. Now these Goblins moving in from the north over the archers in that tower should take those down quite easily. The Spider Riders going to bypass this for now, moving in towards the fortress. Several additions being added on. Looks like they are going to be focusing down one of these level 3 farms. That's going to be a great pickup. A worm shows up as well. That's a great summon at this point. Going to begin focusing down, I would assume, the archery range here, as he is looking to take out a bunch of the infrastructure right now of Bushit. Bushit desperately trying to hold on here as he throws down a couple of archer tower expansions. The Spider Riders are going to be able to pick up this level 1 farm just recently built here in the back. That's going to be a really great pickup for Megrim, and a pretty significant loss for Bushit as he's running a little low on farms right now. As you can see, he has a couple remaining. Has managed to just constantly rebuild those all throughout the game, but now the Knights show up, led by Theoden, and Aemir is out as well. They will chase down the majority of these Spider Riders. Drogoth shows up to the battle. That's what the Goblin player has been saving up for, is going to begin to work on one of these farms that has been added here. The Spider Riders continuing to flee. Drogoth could turn and focus down some of these knights. Decides to do so now, but gets a little overeager. Instead deciding to go for the builder. That's going to be a really good pickup if he can finish him off. The goblins there should be able to pick him off. I'm not sure why they're not. There they go. Does get a one hit in there, and the builder falls. Drogoth slowly deciding where he wants to fly to begin his attack run, if you will. And the level 2 farm here, almost level 3, is going to be killed off by Drogoth. This is going to be a great pickup. Meanwhile, to the north side, these pikemen, these Gondor Tower guards, have moved farther in and are beginning to pick off a couple of mines along the top side here. This is going to be a great pickup, a great move by Bushit. Sheila really can't engage. I mean, I guess you could take on probably one unit of pikemen, but not without sustaining significant damage. Meanwhile, on the south side, several of the units here have lost, and I think, was that Drogoth dying right there, as he went in way too close to that dormitory expansion there, and after saving up for him for so long, Megrim accidentally throwing him away there, for once not taking care of his heroes, and does indeed lose Drogoth the Dragon Lord, so he will need to rebuild him if he wants to bring him back out onto the battle. Meanwhile, these Knights of Dol Amroth continue to be a pesky pain in the side of our Goblin player. They are up to about half a level at this point. Would like to get those up to level 3 so that they do begin regenerating on their own. However, he does have a well here in the back, which, along with a very nice sort of Sim City setup here, to protect some of these buildings. Although the fire archers now have been equipped to the Goblin Spider Riders, so these buildings will begin to fall almost immediately. He tries to save the builder by throwing down a wall hub. I think he will indeed begin to save those. The Knights now showing up. We have a Hobbit summon as well here, and a Spider summon as in addition to that. So all of the summons going down here. This battle is pretty intense in terms of all the summons being thrown down. Each side trying to claim this territory right now for their own. Azog in the center of it. Great Battle Rage activated. Aemir going to have to retreat up to level 4 at this point. Theoden is up to level 5. Wants to get to that level 6 for the Glorious Charge. That's going to be a great addition if he can reach it. Azog and the Goblin King once again going to have to retreat, though, as they are not going to have enough forces here to actually finish off this fortress right now, especially with all these arrow towers and the dormitory expansion with 2 units of archers inside. Level 3 stable still standing tall. Unit of Gondor pikemen, the tower guards. Actually, another unit up here. It looks like the Spider Riders will finally begin to pick those off, though. And rebuilding mines is Megrim all across the top now. It looks like this builder is continuing to move forward here and will begin to produce some more mines along the top of the tower guards. Not going to have enough damage right now to go ahead and finish off that mine. On the other side of the map, the Spider Leg's about to time out. Right now, Bushit just sitting back, rebuilding his forces. Looks like he's still sticking to that very heavy cavalry style here. As did he actually lose his coda? I believe so, as I do not see those Knights of Dol Amroth anywhere on the field, so he must have lost that unit. That's obviously an expensive loss, as they do cost 1,200 resources each. And especially at this point in the game where he's really sort of hungering for resources. I mean, he's got, what, 1 level 3 farm at this point? He's got a couple farms scattered around the map here, even building 2 very close together here. Does have an additional one up here that's on fire, but should be able to survive at least for now. We do have a battle towards the south here. The Goblin Spider Riders engaging the Knights here, or the Horsemen, and all those Rohirrim, I believe, are going to go down. The group of Gondor Knights, level 5 Gondor Knights, you don't see that very often, as they do often die quite quickly, it seems. Aemir and Theoden going to be able to bypass this huge army of Goblin warriors, though, for now, and get around the outside there. Will be able to escape the Gondor level 5 Knights, though. Will they be able to escape? The Spider Riders are firing their fire arrows at them, and I think these level 5 Gondor Knights will finally fall, so that's going to be a great pickup. One Rohirrim, level 2, actually survived, so you can see another one respawning right there at that almost exact moment. And it looks like they might be able to survive. That'll be at least one of those units did make it through and can begin to regen. We do have another coda on the way. Is continuing to beef up that Horseman army, as he did lose a incredible amount of them there. And now Azog pushing forward with a huge force. All the goblins from the front, the Spider Riders to the north. These pikemen needs to come in and help. He has no forward pressure on back at his base. Shelob's waiting back at home, needs to bring her forward actually. We'd love to see her in this battle. He could actually tunnel her in if he chose to. These Goblin Warriors focusing now on the front here. A group of Gondor Tower Guards moving in, or popping out of the barracks, as of that level 2 barracks as well. They will be able to help with the fight, but the farm is going to go down almost instantly, especially with Azog there. We do have a summon to the bottom side, though. It is going to be the Rohirrim summon. And with that Rohirrim summon and Glorious Charge activated by Theoden, you can see him throwing that down there. All of these knights are going to be getting a ton of extra damage and taking a lot less damage. And that entire Goblin army completely decimated there almost immediately. The Goblin King up to level 7, Azog at 9, and all of a sudden these knights have charged out across the map. Now the Spider Riders going pretty much uncontested. One of the Rohirrim Spearmen going to be chasing them down, but it's not going to be enough to really take them all out. Meanwhile, these knights are running out across the map. There is actually a Fire Drake that's been built by our Goblin player. The Army of the Dead goes down, though. The Oathbreakers have shown up. Shelob and all of these units going to be in trouble. These Rohirrim are going to be attempting to focus down the fortress of Megrim. The Fire Drake dies almost instantly. Éomer showing up a little late, but better late than never. But I'm not sure they actually have enough damage here to take down this fortress of the Goblins. He has so many arrow towers expansion. Shelob dies there, and the only problem with the Oathbreakers at this point, yes, it helps take out a decent amount of the Goblins, but what it doesn't do is take out the building, as the Oathbreakers are incredibly ineffective at dealing damage to buildings. As you can see there, they are about to time out there. The timer on those is quite short, as they fulfill their oaths rather quickly there. And there's just not enough damage here. I mean, he's going to get some damage in to the fortress, but at what cost? I mean, he lost a ton of his units there. These Rohirrim are actually going to time out. Even if he saves them, there's really no point. He's not going to save them anyways. And the only thing that makes it out of there is going to be Éomer at level almost 6 and Theoden at level 6. The Goblin Spider Riders actually sitting in the back of his base here need to begin attacking. Taking down a couple of these farms would be nice. You could see him throwing down more farms, as at this point in the game, Bushit, desperate for more income, does not have the resource, the incoming resources to produce all the units he wants to. Those Tower Guards, not cheap units, 450 apiece. Rangers as well, I believe, are 500 apiece. Yes, they are. And of course, he wants to be producing those Knights of Dol Amroth as well. Going to lose a level 3 farm here. That's going to be a big a loss. And would love to see these Goblin Riders actually have focused on that stable, prevent any additional coda from coming out into the field, but for now, he's going to have to retreat, as a few too many of those Spider Riders have been killed. The Rangers showing up, as well as the Tower Guards, will push them back temporarily, although we have a huge Goblin force pushing across the river. Another Goblin force stands just across the ford there. And are these Goblin Warriors ever going to be upgraded? Do we have Megrim going for that treasure trophy? Does have it here in the top of his base. Has not yet researched those forged blades, or of course the scavenged armor. In fact, is only at level 1 at this point. He does have the fire arrows, as we saw those earlier on some of the Goblin Spider Riders, but could think about upgrading further to those Goblin Warriors. However, the question is, how much resources does he have at this point? Bushit sitting at about 1,600, Megrim at 1,600 as well, so both players kind of tied on resources in terms of what they have in their bank. However, the Goblin player, of course, has way more mines out across the map, is making a ton more money, just choosing at this point to spend it on quantity rather than quality. These couple of units to the north here, a little exposed, will not be able to take on this many Goblins by themselves, so it looks like he may lose those. A couple units of horsemen showing up to help. One unit of coda inside of that, and there might actually be enough here with the horsemen to hold off this Goblin attack, although temporarily. It looks like the watchtower in the ford to the north was actually taken out, as well as the farm that Bushit had that protecting. At some point, obviously, that went down. A couple of the Spider Riders coming in now to finish up what remained of those archers, the Gondor Knights, and now the Knights of Dol Amroth in a little bit of trouble. There's no way they can deal with this many goblins by themselves. We do actually have a Tom Bombadil summon go down, and that can be incredibly effective against clumped together units. Meanwhile, a couple of goblins moving in on the south side will pick off a singular mine. Going to be continuing to moving forward, and with Tom Bombadil out, it looks like these troops deciding to retreat temporarily until he does time out. The timer on Tom Bombadil actually pretty lengthy, so he will be able to provide some comfort here for about a minute or so. The Knights did survive, are up to level 2 now. Amer survived as well out with these Knights. Is Theoden alive? Looks like Theoden may have fallen during that last battle. We'll want to get him back out, of course, now that he is up to level 6, can provide that glorious charge ability. These Knights running along the bottom side. Actually, if they can pick off this tunnel, that might just get them up to level 3. That'll be a great pickup. It is canceled, though, before they can finish it off, so they do not get the full brunt of that experience. In fact, I'm not sure if they picked up any experience from that. Tom Bombadil, it looks like, finally timing out. Excuse me, guys. And Drogoth now back out on the field. This is a great choice. And the reason is, of course, because these Knights of Dalamoth are being a pesky pain in the side here as they begin to focus down a lot of these farms. And Drogoth is just what is going to be needed in order to turn them around. Does get in a nice hit there. They are up to level 3 now, so will start to regen if they lose units. And Drogoth will take out a couple of those units. These Coda need to retreat immediately if they want to begin rebirthing. The Goblin Spider Riders launching Fire Archers takes out 4 of the 5 Coda. This one trying to make it back to that fountain. A group of archers shows up. Will Drogoth pursue? Looks like he gets in a little far. Amer shows up, throws a spear to scare him away. And the Coda will survive at level 3, returns to the fountain, and can begin to regen. Actually, I think, do Coda regen after they get to level 3, or they may need the fountain, actually, in order to do that. I'm not actually sure what it is in the 2.02 patch, which, of course, we are watching on version 4 at this point. But nevertheless, he will begin to regen those as they reach the fountain. And now an additional unit of Coda out, so more and more powerful units here being built by our Gondor player. The real issue that he has, though, is going to be dealing with Drogoth at this point, as he cannot be focusing on both ground and air at the same time with his limited income. And actually a worm shows up right in front of the arrow tower here. I'm not sure that's the best idea. This worm is going to take a ton of damage. Does manage to get 1 fire breath off, but it's not going to be nearly enough to take out this dormitory expansion. Might get another one off to deal some additional temporary damage, but the worm does die. In fact, before really the Goblin army even shows up, they will attempt us around on the fortress at this point. But the Cloud Break goes down, and that's going to immediately begin to stun all of these units. And with all the units stunned and the rebuild going down, I think this fortress is going to be okay, especially with all the units inside the dormitory expansion. There's actually a group of Athelian Rangers in there as well now. And the Goblin King actually being focused down is going to be taking a lot of damage. You can see all those archers simply focusing on him, taking way too much damage. He is going to try to retreat, but I think too little too late, as a couple of more arrows take him down. And the Goblin King falls. Where are those Coda around on the backside here? Dealing with a couple of random wildmen. We do have a Watcher being thrown down by the Goblin player, though, Megrim. That's going to deal significant damage to a lot of these Coda. It looks like, yes, they still do regen, as you can see it taking place there. And the Watcher going to be scaring off those Coda temporarily. The Goblins archers now show up, beginning to focus down that dormitory. But with the Coda away from the Watcher, they can begin to focus down the Spiderlings themselves. The Goblins to the north mostly depleted. A couple more showing up across the river, though. Megrim here trying to keep the pressure on as much as he can, but these Coda deal so much damage that the Goblin archers just get completely decimated. This fortress still surviving at about a third of its health. These Goblins working on the wall hub here. Actually, I've wondered if Bushit has done this on purpose to sort of distract some of the units when they come into attack. It may have been an accident, building a wall hub and then forgetting to cancel it before finish, of course, to protect the builder. Drogoth about up to half health at this point. I think he took some damage earlier from probably these archers in this tower during an earlier attack. But the dormitory, or the trebuchet expansion now going up in the front. But as I was saying, sorry guys, getting sidetracked about the wall hub, even if he built it by accident, it's actually proving a little bit useful, as it is providing some cover here and distracting some of the attacks of his opponent. And for only 200, that may well be worth it. Drogoth flying along here to the north side, flies over the ford in the river there, looking for a mine to target, something out in the open, but Bushit being so careful at this point, trying to consolidate all of his buildings very close to his fortress to keep them alive as long as possible. And Drogoth is going to have to turn back, but this huge group flying, or this huge group of goblins now moving out across the river. There's basically a single group of cavalry here, not a single group, but rather a single, I don't know what you would call it, legion, unit. It's not really a unit, a group. Sure, let's go with a group. So a single, or a group of cavalry here is really all that stands in between this goblin force and the fortress. I think if they rushed it right now, they could probably take it down, even with the trebuchet, even with the dormitory expansion. Would like to see him focus that down, but we do have a Rohirrim summon. Is Glorious Charge going to be activated by Theoden? Even so, it may not even be needed, as all of these horsemen can easily charge through these goblins here, picking up a ton of resources there from Aemir. The Drogoth now showing back up, but all these units are immediately dead. The Spider Riders go uncontested to the north, will get that archer range. That's going to be a great pickoff. But Fire Breath goes down, hits one of the groups of Coda, doesn't really do, actually it hits Aemir. It hardly does any damage to him at all. And these Goblin Archers now focusing down the Trebuchet expansion instead of actually going for the Trebuchet on top. Not sure if I agree with that. Might not even get it here, as all of these horsemen now show up and are going to once again push back those Spider Riders. Drogoth too nervous to get close to the fortress, as those arrow towers will deal him way too much damage and take him out and take his health down almost instantly. So he needs to be incredibly careful, babysitting him very carefully, not wanting to lose him at this point in the game. What's he sitting at in terms of resources? Bushit at about 2k. Megrim, as you can see, basically using all of his resources, is down to about 700 at this point. He's using them as pretty much as fast as he can, as fast as they come in. We do have some fishers on the way, actually a couple of mountain giants queued up, but he can't actually build any more, as half-troll marauders as well. And finally, we can see some of these goblins with the forge blades and the armor. That's what he's recently spent all of his money on. That's why he's sitting so low. He does have both the forge blades as well as the scavenge armor. So of course this is a great upgrade for those Goblin Warriors at this late stage in the game. A couple of these cavalry units being thrown away. I think these are the summon one. Yeah, they were going to time out anyway, so might as well try and get some extra damage out of them there. Rebuild is finally up and does get cast on the fortress there. A bunch of these buildings, or these expansions, now back to full health. The goblins moving in from the north, looking for weak spots, looking for places to strike. So nervous about that cavalry charge that can happen at any moment. Theoden actually up to level 7 now. Aemir almost to level 9. And a group of Coda at level 4, one at level 1. Goblin Spiders Riders moving in front on the south side. Drogoth actually going to be focusing down this cave troll, it looks like. Will pick off a stray mine to the south. That's going to be a nice pickup. This one actually gets canceled by Bushit before they even get enraged, deciding I'll just take the resources back right now. And it looks like we are going to have a massive attack here. And as he sees that coming in, the rally call goes down on the units inside the dormitory expansion. These goblins now with the scavenge armor should be able to survive a little bit longer, but these archers just deal so much damage. Was it even worth it? These goblins still die so quickly, probably keeps them obviously alive a little bit longer. But Drogoth now being focused down by that arrow tower, you can see how quickly he falls when he gets in range of those arrow towers. Needs to be pulled out immediately. Arrow drop goes down. That's going to deal a lot of damage to those spiders, but takes about half health away from almost all of them. And with the Coda in here, now up to level 6. Unbelievable how much damage they deal and how quickly they deal it. All the troops of the goblins are completely decimated. That was his entire army. Now that does free up all of his units to begin coming out. A couple units of half-troll marauders on the way as well. Definitely the right choice with all of these Coda on the way. Surprised we have had to wait until now to see them. Drogoth did survive that battle, almost up to level 4, about a third health. We'll begin to start searching once again for those mines that are most likely going up. And yes, immediately we can see those farms being rebuilt by Bushit, as he did pretty much decisively win that battle with minimal amounts of units. Bushit desperately trying to stay in this battle, and this stables did not manage to get focused down in that last battle. That's actually quite a shame. I believe those spider riders along the south side needed to focus that down, but instead getting destroyed by those Coda, and that's going to be a big mistake here, I think, by our Goblin player for not destroying that. We do have, once again, the Fire Drake back out on the field. I just love how these things run. It looks so ridiculous. It looks like he's just like frolicking around. He's just like, I'm so happy. I don't know. For some reason, this is just like the happiest happy run I've ever seen in my entire life. It just looks so hilarious. But anyways, sorry guys, back to the game. Drogoth trying to get in and deal some damage, but he's so nervous about getting close to those arrow towers. Throws down a fireball, misses. I didn't even know it could miss, as that didn't even hit those knights. And these mountain giants moving way too far in front of the army. Actually, the army's way off to the side, and the Coda immediately take them out. You can see that the tower being built along the top here, the ivory tower. So he has complete view of the map right now, sees where everything is, and these Coda can easily begin focusing down some of these units now, or actually rather not, because of the Half-Tome Marauders. Instead, we are going to see a cloud break and an army of the dead being summoned in order to deal with these units. Azog and the Goblin King are in there. Even if they escape the army of the dead, there is no way they're going to be able to survive the rundown of the Knights of Dol Amroth. Wildman Summon going down, not going to be effective at all, as all of those units die almost instantly. And as we can see, these units now fleeing the battle, but these Coda just deal so much damage and have such speed. And we'll just watch here as the Goblin King gets basically raped from behind. A couple of units showing up at the last second, but they are going to pick up a level for that. Drogoth now showing in, does not want to engage the army of the dead. They will swarm and kill him immediately, and Drogoth dies as he swoops in and gets taken over by the Oathbreakers. That was literally in their last couple of seconds, so a big mistake here by Megrim. These knights are still alive. Looks like they took out Azog in this battle as well, and these knights just beginning to deal so much damage. Level 7 actually have the glorious charge of their own now as well, and level 4 need a couple more levels there before they get up to that 50% damage, 100% armor on that charge of glory. Would love to get all the units of Coda up to that, as it just begins to be quite ridiculous how much damage they can do. And as you can see, they're actually incredibly difficult for Bushit, or for Megrim here to deal with. Needs to build more Half-Tome Marauders. Would love to see him throw down an extra Fisher. For now, it just has the 2. Couple of mountain giants out. Looks like his army is once again built up, and Megrim basically allowed to just continue rebuilding his army rather, because of how many mines that he has surrounding the map. Coda here will be able to pick off a level 3 mine that is going to be a nice pickup. Uses that actually Charge of Glory ability here to give a couple of these units temporarily increased damage and defensive capabilities. The Spider Riders most likely are not going to be enough here to take these out, and they are going to have to retreat a little bit. But meanwhile, Megrim deciding to make a counterattack instead of dealing with the knights in his back, actually being a little bit indecisive, now pulling back, deciding to go for these knights instead with these units. And now, once again, pulling back. Oh, I see what he was doing. He wasn't actually pulling back to deal with the knights. He was pulling back to protect his mountain giants, as last time he learned his lesson all too well. These Coda easily going to be able to survive a couple of volleys here from the fire arrows. As you can see, these Spider Riders just getting decimated by them. But meanwhile, he's pulling back the Half-Tome Marauders to protect the mountain giants. Having learned his lesson, needs to keep those alive, obviously, to deal the siege damage that he obviously needs to get done against this fortress. Once again, summons the worm right in front. Would have waited till the units get a little closer next time before summoning that, so it doesn't take so much immediate damage. Boromir now out, up to level 2 already, is going to begin, he can use that horn as soon as he would like to. A Hobbit summon on the mountain giants. They are getting some significant damage done on the fortress. Although, actually, what are they focusing on? Looks like they were focusing on an arrow tower expansion on the front, and that is actually already been destroyed. So I don't know why they're still focusing on that, but that's barely doing any damage. We do have a Balrog summon going down here by Megrim, though, and this could be the end here for Bushit, as he has lost the majority of his army. Actually, he didn't really have much of an army to begin with. Boromir here standing stunned, staring at the Balrog. The Trebuchet expansion will definitely go down here from the Balrog. Would love to see a Fire Breath on this whole area, maybe even focusing down the stables at some point. Looks like the Coda still alive. That army decimated, but more being sent in here by Megrim. The Balrog focusing down the fortress. Is he even going to be able to get off that Fire Breath? There it finally goes. And taking a ton of damage during that. Will lose the Balrog. Did not get a his full time limit there, but got enough to deal that significant damage, especially to a lot of those archers. One archer group did survive. Of course, they're up to level 5 after all the damage they've been doing inside that expansion. But not a lot of damage done to the actual fortress itself, and it looks like for now it will survive. Boromir finally using that horn, stunning these units in range of the fortress, and they are going to begin to fall. And with the half-troll marauders down, all of these units are completely susceptible to the now 3 units of Coda that Bushit has managed to get out. Scrounging and saving, Bushit has basically put himself in a very interesting position. Although, what can he do against the endless hordes of goblins that are being pumped out? He needs to cut off the resource supply somehow, but all of his units are always focused on defending. And what I think here is that he just doesn't have the income here to produce the units that he needs to deal the damage to the infrastructure while simultaneously defending his base. More goblins moving in from the south, and you can see his army can only be so many places at once. These units are good, but good pretty much together. You want to keep the units of Coda together. You don't really want to split them up, as they just deal so much more damage together, and there's of course strength in numbers, as they do get that charge, or as the charge damage just really helps them when they're all together. You can run through so many more units with several units than you can with just a single or a couple units. Goblins moving in from the north now will be able to pick off an additional farm, something Bushit, of course, again, would love to have kept, especially at this stage of the game. We do have the Watcher coming out. It's going to deal a significant amount of damage to some of these knights, but not nearly enough, I think. A builder actually coming out here for Bushit, trying to, or thinking about potentially building some additional barracks, maybe an archery range. Actually, it's going to be, of course, more farms. The Watcher here dealing a decent amount of damage to both of these buildings. Might time out before they actually die, though. Would love to get this level 3 farm if he can. A couple last goblins and the Watcher hitting away at it. Might get it with this last couple of goblins. And no, the level 3 farm actually does survive. So Bushit here definitely happy about that. But once again, the armies of goblins are relentless here. The income flows freely as Megrim is just making way too much cash at this point to be stopped, frankly. I mean, he just keeps rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding. Look, he has all these units queued up. As soon as these units die, there is going to be more units on the way. And where is the forces of our player in the bottom right-hand corner, Ice Vice? Of course, in this game, Bushit, as that is his in-game name that he likes to use. He has sent all of his Coda, as well as both of his heroes, up to, or along the lower side here, crossing the ford on the bottom, possibly going for the base here of our Goblin player. And does he realize that actually an earthquake goes down? Megrim, perhaps unaware of this, all his forces across the map going to be focusing down the fortress of the Goblin player. Instead, a summon is used, as well as the glorious charge ability by Theoden. All of his units now moving in. Megrim realizes his fortress has been hit. His buildings are temporarily vulnerable to a huge attack here, and the Knights of Glamroth running in, dealing tons of massive damage here. The fortress is building quickly, but the damage dealt is very real and very powerful here by the Knights. The fortress being focused down. They don't have a complete surround, but they have enough of a surround where they're getting some decent surface area. This fortress taking way too much damage, and has Bushit actually found a way to come back in this game and take what may be a potential lead as the fortress falls there from all of the damage that the Coda can deal. Meanwhile, looking back at the fortress of Bushit, a heal goes down at the last second, but it looks like he's lost several of his expansions already. The Mountain Giants throwing from afar. This expansion about to go down. This Mountain Giant easily going to be able to finish it off. The Spider Riders to the south beginning to shoot that down as well. The Knights of Lamarth now returning just in time. Will take out one Mountain Giant immediately. Should focus on this next one right away. And the fortress here just taking so little damage from these units as the increased defensive walls, the upgraded building armor that it has attached to it, it just really prevents a lot of these units from dealing close range damage to it. And the Knights show back up and will be able to clean this up. And Bushit, once again, going to be able to survive. Has these farms in the back still alive, especially level 3. That's going to be the key one for him here. Has the archer range back out, meaning he can begin to reinforce those dormitory expansions should he choose to build any more. The level 3 stable still stands. Even if these quota do fall, Bushit has a means to rebuild them. And it looks like we do have a fortress going down now for Megrim. He's going to rebuild it in the exact same spot. Likes this spot for the fortress, and these buildings were only set to rubble, so they will begin to rebuild themselves. So that's going to be a nice ability of the Goblin buildings there. More Mountain Giants making their way onto the field. And at this point, Megrim still has the majority of his infrastructure. Yes, he lost his fortress, which means all of his powers are not usable at this moment in time. Whereas the all of the powers for Bushit are being regenerated at this point. He has the Dunedain Rangers available to him. Tom Bombadil almost, and the Hobbits can be summoned as well at any time should he choose to. A lot of these units moving in from the north. Azog activating that great battle rage, 100% damage. More units moving in from the left-hand side, including a mountain troll. Where are those knights? Looks like they've run into a little bit of trouble here to the north side. We'll have to fall back. Tom Bombadil being summoned, but the fortress actually taking a lot of damage. The knights need to get back in time. But Megrim focusing down the fortress with Azog, and Azog deals a lot of damage up close like this. And with a final swing, that fortress will go down. And both players right now fortressless momentarily, so neither player can use powers. A couple of last desperate summons there did go down before he lost his fortress, but does he actually have a builder left on the field? Yes, he does. He has one builder left on the field. Bushit needs to protect this builder at all costs. Actually loses his archery range, now only has the stables. If he loses the stables, it is game over for Bushit. The builder beginning to build the barracks immediately here as he's realized that. The Knights show back up. The Hobbit summon Tom Bombadil and the Athelian Rangers should manage to take out the remainder of these troops. The Mountain Giant falls, and the builder survives, albeit barely. Now, how much money does Bushit actually has? It has about 1,500. Actually, no, he had already clicked on that fortress, so did have enough saved up there over those last couple of moments to immediately begin rebuilding a fortress. Had it already queued up there from his builder, and so that will begin to rebuild here. But while that's building, he has no additional builders, so the only thing he can produce out of is going to be the stables. And with so many pikemen on the field, I'm not sure he has what it's going to take in order to keep this band of units, or to keep his base alive. The fortress is now rebuilt for Megrim. These knights inside of his base dealing a lot of damage. The Mountain Giant will go down. The Athelian Rangers, the Dunedain Rangers holding on for just a little bit longer here. They will time out shortly, though. And it looks like a lot of these units are going to have to go back. He's actually going to lose the stables, potentially. There's a lot of damage being inflicted here by these half-troll marauders. And I think that the troops cannot make it back in time. And they're dealing way too much damage. This stable will indeed fall. And finally, it looks like that stables is going to be picked up here by Megrim. And at this point, there's no production facilities for Bushit other than the building fortress. So if this fortress if he cancels this fortress, it is game over. If the fortress goes down while it's building, game over. With the fortress back up, let's take a look at the power menu of Megrim. Of course, our Goblin player almost up to that level 25 power, that second level 25 power. The Worm about 1/4 or 3/4 of the way done. The Balrog sitting at about halfway done. A couple of the other powers halfway. So it's going to be a little bit before he can do any significant summons, other than that potential level 25 summon as soon as he reaches it. These knights should actually engage this Mountain Giant. I'm not sure why he's retreating there, although there is some additional half-troll marauders showing up there in the back, so may indeed want to keep those little units alive. and not press forward. But actually turns back around, is going to run these units up around the top side of the map here. But I think even with all of these incredibly powerful Knights of Lamroth, level 10, level 9, and level 3, as well as a level 10 Armor and Theoden, there's really just not enough units here for Bushit to actually mount a big enough of a comeback. And with the fortress now rebuilt, the building armor, as well as all of these arrow den expansions, he just cannot get in close enough to this fortress without that earthquake ability. Yes, he's going to be pulling out or taking out a couple mines here in the back, but all these forces now moving out across the map. A lone tower has been erected. The fortress, one arrow tower expansion, a couple units of archers is definitely not going to be enough to actually hold off this attack. Needs his troops once again back at the base, but Drogoth back out on the field. Excellent choice here by Megrim, going for the one unit that cannot be stopped at this point because there's basically no archers on the field. I mean, here's the last group of archers right here, and they are about to go down. He cannot afford to build an additional archer range at this point. Doesn't have any unit production facilities, and all of these troops now retreating, but Drogoth chasing them down. Drogoth can engage the fortress at this point because of course, because there is not enough arrow damage. In fact, the lone tower goes down in addition, so even less so than before. A forward goblin mine being produced. Drogoth up to level 4. There's the level 25 dragon summon. And this dragon is going to begin to work down the fortress as well as these arrow tower expansions, which have just started to build. He's going to start to lose a lot of health on all of these expansions. The dragon actually pulling back, deciding to re-engage the farm instead. Probably not necessarily a bad idea. Although I'd like to see him just focus this fortress down and finish it off at this point. And I think Bushit back into a corner here, beginning a well. There's no way he can even produce out of any of these buildings. And these knights trying desperately to hold off. Army of the Dead is somehow summoned. Will Bushit actually be able to hold off here in the corner? Even so, the worm is summoned. This fortress is looking quite troublesome as it's basically run out of health at this point. The summoned dragon will go down. The worm might as well, but either way, the heal goes down in the fortress. Bushit holding on until the very last moment here. The dormitory expansion here. No actual archers can be built at this point because there is no archery range. The Army of the Dead about to expire. There they go. Looks like all the units of Coda still alive, including that level 10 unit. And now a level 4 unit in there as well. We'll return back to the fountain to begin healing those. But all that needs to come across the map right now is a huge group of these half-troll marauders, and it is going to be game over for Bushit. Looks like this should be the end, guys. Once again, I want to thank everyone for tuning into this game. I hope you enjoyed it. Please stay tuned, of course, to my channel for more exciting games in the near future. We will be focusing, or I will be planning on having more games, probably of both of these players, as they are definitely some of the regulars who still do play Lord of the Rings. I don't want to say professionally, but well, maybe you could say professionally. I mean, they're the most professional players probably remaining at this point. And of course, this was the first game I casted from that tournament bracket. If you guys remember way back to the beginning of this video, this is a game from a tournament that is that was hosted very recently by, of course, the site that I am now participating in and helping to rebirth slightly this game. Of course, a game that we all enjoyed and loved for many years, Lord of the Rings, Battle from Earth to the Rise of the Witch King. And as that fortress goes down by the mountain giants here, this last archery range and barracks is all that stands in the way between Megrim and complete and total victory. And it looks like we will be having these knights focus down the giants, but it's not going to be enough. He cannot withstand the power of Drogoth. So once again, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Check out GameReplays.org for more information on Rise of the Witch King, as well as stay tuned to my channel for more upcoming casts and tournament games. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely helps my channel out and get out the games for more people to see. Master Cloud is signing out.